There are places in this world, hidden deep beneath layers of faith and history, that are governed by rules. Not for decorum, not for safety, but for the preservation of reality itself. I am a guardian of such a place, and we have 5 holy rules. The 5th is the most important. Never, under any circumstances, leave a broken body behind. A few minutes ago, I found the corpse of a young acolyte, his neck snapped, his face a mask of frozen terror. And just as the horror of that discovery set in, a scream echoed up from a level even deeper in the darkness. A scream that wasn't human. Now I have a choice to make. Do I honor the most sacred rule, can deal with the body before it becomes a doorway for something else? Or do I descend into the pitch black to confront the thing that screamed? Either way, the rules have already been broken, and the consequences are just getting started. My name is Lorenzo. Most people who think of the Vatican picture reverence and faith. They see the grand cathedral piercing the clouds, the priceless art in the sunlit galleries, and the endless shelves of documents in what they now call the Archivum Sacrum, the sacred archive. They hear the wild conspiracy theories, whispered in hushed tones, alien skulls in jewel-encrusted boxes, chronometers that see the future, the lost prophecies of a forgotten saint, all the usual breathless nonsense. They're not entirely wrong about the archives, just misguided. The name was only changed from secretum to sacrum, because the old word simply meant private, a PR move for the modern age. Most of it is just old letters, papal bulls, financial records, and census data, a mountain of paperwork so vast that credentialed scholars are free to look at it, knowing they could never live long enough to find anything truly hidden. But that's the public face. It's a very effective, very beautiful distraction, a labyrinth of paper and ink designed to occupy the curious and misdirect the ambitious. My work is down below, far below, deeper than the tombs of the founders, deeper even than the pagan necropolis of the old empire that was buried to build this place. The air here doesn't just get colder, it gets older. It's a place that exists outside of the normal flow of time, a geological and theological anomaly. It's not a library or an archive. We call it the depositum, the depository. There are no books here, no scrolls, no paper at all, just objects. Things so spiritually toxic, so violently opposed to our reality, that their very existence is a cancerous problem that must be perpetually managed. I'm not a priest. I'm not a scholar. I'm a warden. We are a line of guardians stretching back centuries, a vocation passed, not always by blood, but by a certain temperament, a profound lack of curiosity, and a will of unbending iron. We don't study these things. We don't try to understand them. To understand them is to invite their logic into your mind, and that is a door that can never be closed again. We just keep them contained. We have a rule book, 5 simple rules. They were written in the blood of the first warden, on the back of a tanner's bill. They aren't for our safety. They are for the safety of the man walking down the street in Rome, for the woman picking her child up from school in Tokyo, for the entire world that sleeps soundly, blissfully unaware of what festers beneath its feet. And a few moments ago, in the crushing, absolute silence of the lower levels, a silence so profound you can hear the blood moving in your own ears, I heard that scream. It wasn't a scream of pain or surprise. It was a scream of pure, primal terror. It was the sound the universe makes when one of its fundamental laws is bent until it snaps. And I know, with a certainty that sits like a block of ice in my stomach, someone just broke one of the rules. Before I tell you what happened next, you need to understand the rules. You have to understand the nature of what might have been let loose, the sheer scale of the catastrophe that a single mistake can unleash. These aren't suggestions. They are the load-bearing walls of reality itself. The first holy rule is never introduce a new holy object. It sounds completely wrong, a paradox, I know. In a place overflowing with concentrated malevolence, You'd think a crucifix or a vial of consecrated water would be your best friend. You'd be wrong, fatally wrong. Down here, that's how you get erased from existence. The things in the depository aren't just unholy, they're anti-holy. They operate on a different spiritual physics, an inverted theology. They exist in a state of perfect opposition to the sacred. Think of it like matter and antimatter. A crucifix isn't a shield here. It's a lit match in a room filled with spiritual dynamite. A single drop of holy water wouldn't produce a satisfying hiss and puff of smoke. It would cause a silent metaphysical detonation that would shred the containment seals on an entire floor. We wear passive wards, ancient symbols of deflection and misdirection woven into the very fabric of our clothes, forged from metals that do not conduct faith. They don't provoke. They don't fight. They simply make us uninteresting, spiritually bland, a rock in a river of cosmic hunger. Bringing active faith down here is like declaring a war you have already lost. The second holy rule is never look into a reflective surface. The depository is filled with mirrors of obsidian, polished silver bowls, and objects carved from volcanic glass that shine with a dark internal luster. We keep them all covered in thick, black velvet shrouds, weighted at the corners with lead. If you were to lift one, you wouldn't see your reflection. You'd see you, but a different you. A version of you living a perfect life. A life where that loved one didn't die, where you took that other job, where that terrible mistake was never made. It's a perfect world, custom made to prey on your deepest regrets. The image beckons, whispers to you, not with sound, but with feelings, with the sudden memory of a forgotten joy, the smell of a childhood home, the warm touch of a hand you thought you'd never hold again. It promises you can have it all back. The mirror becomes a doorway. The moment you decide to step through, the moment you allow yourself to believe the lie, the illusion shatters, and it consumes you. Your physical body slumps to the floor, an empty husk. Your soul, your consciousness, is then added to the reflection, a new perfect bait for the next curious person, trapped forever behind the glass, screaming without a voice. The third holy rule is never speak the name of a contained entity aloud. Names have power. That's not just a quaint saying. It's a physical law in the depository. To speak the true name of an entity is to give it your attention, your focus, to create a conduit between your mind and its prison. It's like a prisoner in a deep sleep suddenly hearing their name shouted from the other end of the block. They stir. They get up. They walk to the bars and begin to test the lock. An old warden, Marius, told me a story about a novice who got cocky. He was cataloging a simple-looking clay pot from a fallen Mesopotamian civilization and whispered the name of the plague god. Sealed within it a name he read in a translated manifest. The novice's tongue instantly turned black, swelled to the size of a fist, and fell out of his mouth onto the stone floor. But that was just the beginning. For a week straight, the stone walls of that section bled a foul, black ooze that smelled of decay and fear, and the whispers of the dying could be heard in every shadow. It took 3 senior wardens, Marius included, 3 days of non-stop rituals just to put the entity back to sleep, a process that left Marius with a permanent tremor in his left hand. We only use catalog numbers. Item 73B, Shelf C, Aisle 4. Nothing more. The fourth holy rule is never remove an object from its designated place without performing the ritual of transference. Every object rests on a pedestal, carved with complex containment runes. It forms a circuit, a closed loop that is constantly draining the object's malevolent energy and grounding it safely into the bedrock of the earth itself. It's a perpetual process of spiritual dialysis. If you lift an object without first performing the ritual, you break that circuit. All the energy the object has been storing up, sometimes for centuries, discharges instantly into the first thing it touches, you. Pick up the wrong dagger, and you'll be filled with a homicidal rage that won't end until you're put down. Touch the wrong music box, and you'll be flooded with the sorrow of 1,000 funerals, and you will simply lie down and let your heart stop. The ritual of transference is a monumental undertaking that takes a team of 3 wardens a full hour to perform. It involves harmonic chants to disrupt the object's resonance, precise geometric placements of cold iron and Himalayan salt to create a new, temporary circuit and immense, shared concentration. It hasn't been done in my lifetime. We don't move things, ever. Which brings us to the 5th and most important rule of all: never, ever leave a broken body behind. This is the rule our order was founded to uphold, the original sin we were created to prevent. The entities here feed on despair, on fear, but most of all, on life force released in the moment of death. A dead body left in the depository for more than an hour becomes an anchor, a doorway. The soul of the deceased, disoriented and weak, is violently pushed out, and something else moves in, wearing the corpse like a perfectly tailored suit. And it doesn't just get a body. It gets the person's memories, their knowledge, their skills, all perfectly preserved. An ancient evil wearing your friend's face, knowing all of your secrets, knowing how you think and how you love, is the most dangerous thing in this place. When one of us dies down here, the body must be removed and consecrated within the hour. No exceptions, no matter what. We do not leave our dead to become monsters. The scream I heard was the sound of one of these rules being shattered. And now I have to go down there and find out which one. My station is a small, cold stone room with a single exit, a spiral staircase coiling down into the darkness. I grabbed my staff of ironwood, its surface cool and smooth under my hand, and my satchel, it holds iron filings, consecrated salt, a small hammer, and a copy of the rulebook, and I started the descent. The air grows cold almost immediately, thin and sharp. It carries the smell of ozone from the containment runes, damp stone, and something else, something cloying and sickly sweet just beneath it. The smell of rotting flowers on a forgotten grave. The first level is for heretical texts. This is where we keep the things that think. Scrolls that rewrite your memories as you read them. Books bound in human skin that show you how to build gateways to other dimensions. Ancient curse tablets that still radiate a palpable, bitter hatred. I passed the Liber Inversum, a tome whose pages are blank until it senses a reader, at which point it fills with a perfect refutation of their most deeply held belief, designed to drive them mad. Everything looked normal. The velvet shrouds were all in place. The silence was absolute, but it was a heavy silence, the kind you feel when a predator is holding its breath, waiting for you to pass. The second level is the Gallery of Idols. These are statues of forgotten gods, figures of stone and bronze, and fused bone that can make your blood boil with rage or your heart freeze with terror if their shrouds are ever removed. I walked past the shrouded form of the horned god of the fen, a hulking figure that emanates a feeling of frantic, desperate hunger, even through the velvet. Further down, the obsidian statue of a weeping goddess, whose sorrow is so profound it can cause suicidal despair in anyone who looks upon her face. Again, nothing seemed out of place. The faint, silvery glow of the containment runes on the floor was steady and unbroken. The knot in my stomach tightened. The problem was deeper. The third level houses the ossuarium. This is where we keep the physical remains of people, so evil their bones are still a stain on the world. The femur of a 17th century noblewoman from the eastern plains that still weeps blood on the anniversary of her death. The skull of a rogue inquisitor, a Lentinus, that chatters and whispers when you get too close, offering secrets of the depository in exchange for just one murder. I did a slow sweep. Every seal was intact. Every reliquary was cold to the touch. Nothing. That left the last two levels. The most dangerous places in the depository. The fourth level is the panopticon. It's a circular chamber lined with cells. But these cells don't hold objects. They hold people, or what's left of them. These are the failed exorcisms, the cases where the demon dug its claws in so deep that removing it would destroy the host. The only option was to build a box around them and pray it holds. They don't age. They don't need to eat. They just exist, trapped in their own flesh. Usually you can hear them. A faint tapping, a low humming, whispers of blasphemy that try to worm their way into your mind. Tonight it was dead silent. I walked the corridor, my footsteps echoing unnaturally, peering through the small grill on each heavy iron door. Every occupant was unnervingly still, and all of them were looking down, toward the final staircase, toward the fifth level. Then I saw it. The door to cell 413 was ajar. My breath caught in my throat. I knew what was supposed to be in 413. A woman named Ilara, possessed by a mimetic entity. A demon that could perfectly copy any voice it heard. A perfect lure to draw you into a trap. The 7 consecrated locks on her door, each one forged from a different metal and blessed by a different faith, were hanging open, shattered and blackened as if struck by lightning. The cell was empty. My eyes scanned the floor, and I saw a dark, sticky fluid dripping from the ceiling above. Blood. I backtracked up the stairs, taking them 2 at a time, and found the source a dark smear on the steps leading down from the 3rd level. And lying next to it, a small silver flask, its stopper missing. Holy water. It was Brother Pius, the junior acolyte on duty tonight. He was young, deeply pious, and scared to death of this place. I told him just last week that his fear was a shield, not a weakness, that had kept him sharp. He had broken the first rule. He must have snuck in the holy water for comfort, stumbled on the stairs, and spilled it. The spiritual backlash would have been silent, but immensely powerful, easily enough to blow the consecrated locks on Ilara's cell clean off. The scream I heard. It wasn't Pius. It was the demon, shocked and terrified by its own sudden, violent freedom. I ran back to the panopticon. At the top of the stairs leading to the final level, the Umbra, I found him. Brother Pius, his neck broken at an unnatural angle, his face a frozen mask of absolute terror. He was dead, and he was alone. The 5th rule: never, ever leave a broken body behind. The mimetic entity was free, and it had a fresh corpse waiting for it, a perfect vessel. But it hadn't taken the body. Why? It had to have gone somewhere. And there's only one place it could be. Down into the 5th level. The Umbra. The 5th level, the Umbra, isn't a room. It's a massive natural cave. The moment I stepped onto the top stair, the last of the light from the panopticon was swallowed whole. It is pitch black with a darkness that feels like a physical presence, and so cold it feels like needles in your lungs. There's only one artifact down there, a single hulking shape in the center of the cavern that seems to absorb all light and sound, warping the space around it. We don't know what it is. We don't want to know. It's listed in the catalog as Item 01. The rule is you seal the door and you pretend it doesn't exist. The mimetic demon from Ilara's body had gone down there. I was faced with an impossible choice. Follow it into the unknown darkness, or deal with the body of Brother Pius. The 5th rule is absolute. The body was the priority. I would not allow it to become a vessel. I turned to go back up the stairs. It would take too long to carry him. I would have to come back with a containment bag. Then I heard a voice, a whisper that came from all around me, yet also from inside my own head. "Lorenzo, is that you?" I froze solid. My heart stopped. I knew that voice. It was my wife, Ilara, the real Ilara. She died of a fever 3 years ago. The demon had been inside my head, silent and patient. It had sifted through my memories, through the grief I thought I had buried, and found her. It found my greatest weakness. Lorenzo, my love, I'm here. I'm not gone. They lied to you. They told you I was lost, but I found my way back. Come down. It's so beautiful in the dark. Remember what you promised me that night in Cinque Terre? You promised we'd see the ocean together again. I can smell the salt air, my love. I can feel the sun on my skin. Just come down here with me. It was a lie, a cruel, exquisitely crafted trick to lure me down into the Umbra. Be gone from this place, I whispered, the ancient words of warding a desperate reflex. But my voice cracked. It laughed, and the sound was my wife's laugh, the one she made when I told a bad joke. But I'm not evil, Lorenzo. I'm your wife. Don't you love me anymore? I've found a way back. They tried to lock me in here, but I'm free. Come down. There's something powerful here you need to see. A way for us to be together. Forever. For a split second, my legs wanted to move. My heart ached to believe it. That's the real danger of this place. It doesn't just attack you with claws and teeth. It uses your own heart as a weapon against you. Then I heard a new sound from above. A wet, dragging noise, followed by a soft tearing, coming from the spot where I had left Pius. No. I scrambled back up the stairs, my heart hammering against my ribs. The body was gone. All that remained was a wet, dark smear on the stone floor and a set of bloody drag marks leading to another cell down the hall. Cell 409. The door plaque read, The Gazer. I remembered the file. A former warden, Brother Cashin, who broke the second rule a century ago. He stared into a cursed mirror, and something stared back. It hollowed him out, leaving only an infectious, maddening need to make others see what it saw. To meet his eyes is to have your mind, your very soul, shattered into a million pieces. The demon hadn't gone to the Umbra for power. It went there as a diversion. A clever feint to lure me away while it arranged for the fifth rule to be broken for me. It had dragged the body of Brother Pius to the gazer's cell. A low, guttural chuckle came from inside the cell. It was the voice of Pius, but twisted, broken, layered with a dry, dusty whisper. Warden, it rasped. The second rule is so very hard to enforce when the mirror is a pair of eyes. My blood ran cold. It had put the body in the cell. The gazer, who had sat alone in the dark for over a century, finally had someone new to look at. And whatever possessed the gazer now had a fresh, undamaged host. A new, intelligent creature, born from my mistake. Then another scream echoed from far below. A woman's voice, full of terror. Elara, the mimic. It was coming from the Umbra. I had been played. The mimic wasn't the predator. It was the bait, lured into the Umbra by something else entirely, something ancient that had promised it power. The voice from the cell chuckled again. A wet and horrible sound. You have a choice, Warden. Go play the hero and save the little voice thief from the thing that lives in the dark, or stay here and deal with me. The fifth rule has been broken, and I'm getting hungry. I was trapped. The rules were designed to contain evil. But what happens when the evil learns to use the rules against you? A wet, heavy crunching sound came from within the gazer's cell, punctuated by the sharp snap of bone. The thing wearing the body of Pius was feeding on the cell's original occupant, consuming it, consolidating its power. The fifth rule wasn't just about possession. It was about evolution, about one horror consuming another to become something new and terrible. I couldn't fight it, not directly. One look into its eyes and my mind would be gone. But I couldn't leave it there to grow stronger, to learn Pius's memories, to figure out how to bypass the wards of the Panopticon. Below, the screaming from the Umbra stopped. A terrible, profound silence took its place, a silence that felt heavier and more final than any that had come before. I had to make a choice. The mimic demon was a known evil. The thing in the umbra was a terrifying unknown. But this new hybrid, this pious gazer, was an immediate evolving threat that had outsmarted me at every turn. It had to be unmade. "You're right," I called out, my voice steadier than I felt, a warden's mask of calm falling into place. "I have to deal with you first." It laughed, a sound of pure malice and intellectual triumph that echoed down the stone corridor. "A wise choice, Warden. But how? You cannot look at me. You cannot fight me. You are a bug trapped in a jar." I ran, not down toward the umbra, up, past the ossuarium with its chattering skulls, back to the second level, the gallery of idols. My lungs burned as I sprinted, the oppressive atmosphere of the depository trying to crush my will. I stopped in front of a rectangular object covered by a heavy velvet shroud. Catalog number 217B, the Unseeing Mirror. An artifact from a culture that worshipped entropy. I was about to deliberately break the second rule to enforce the fifth. The old texts say this mirror doesn't reflect what is or what could be. It reflects what isn't. It shows you a reality that is better, more peaceful, specifically because you were never born into it. It is an artifact of pure weaponized despair. I grabbed the edge of the velvet shroud and ripped it off. I was facing a slab of polished black basalt that seemed to drink the light from the room. I kept my back to it, using the faint reflection on my ironwood staff to position it. The second I heaved the heavy mirror off its pedestal, breaking the fourth rule, a wave of crushing depression washed over me. A voice, my own voice, echoed in my head, a litany of my failures, the death of my wife, the fall of Brother Pius, the certainty that my struggle didn't matter, that the universe was cold and would not notice my passing. "My will is my own," I grunted, forcing the words out, fighting the crushing weight of hopelessness. I dragged the heavy mirror back down the stairs, its psychic despair clawing at me with every step. The pious gazer was now hammering on its cell door, the iron groaning under the impacts. "Whatever you're planning, it won't work, Warden." It roared, its voice a mix of Pius's youthful tenor and a dry, ancient rasp. I managed to prop the mirror against the wall, directly opposite the cell. "A mirror? You fool!" It snarled from inside. "You'll only show me my own magnificent reflection. I will see myself, and my power will double." "Not quite," I whispered. I took out the master key for the panopticon, slotted it into the ancient lock on cell 409, and turned it. Then I ran for cover behind a stone pillar, shielding my eyes. The heavy cell door creaked open. A pious gazer stepped out into the corridor. It was a twisted mockery of the young acolyte, its limbs moving at unnatural angles, but its eyes glowed with a sickening internal light. Its gaze, its primary weapon, fell upon the unseeing mirror. It saw its own non-existence. The scream it made was the sound of a paradox tearing itself apart. An entity whose entire power was based on being seen, on perception, was now seeing its own absolute and total negation. The glowing eyes flickered, then went dark, as if snuffed out by a cosmic wind. Its body, the body of Brother Pius, began to tremble and dissolve, not into dust, but into swirling smoke and peeling layers of light, being actively erased from reality itself. With a final soul-shredding wail that was a symphony of agony and confusion, it imploded, leaving behind nothing but a pile of gray ash and a torn warden's uniform. Shaking, my strength failing, I went back and covered the mirror. The moment the velvet fell over it, the feeling of utter despair faded, leaving only a bone-deep exhaustion that made my knees weak. I carefully gathered what was left of Brother Pius into a consecrated containment bag. I would take him topside. The fifth rule, broken and twisted as it was, would finally be honored. As I walked up that final flight of stairs, leaving the silence of the lower levels behind me, I knew this wasn't a victory. This was a message. The balance had been broken. The cold, calculating intelligence that planned all of this, the one that used the mimic as bait, that knew about the gazer, that understood our rules well enough to turn them into a weapon, was still down there in the Umbra, with whatever remains of Item 001. It had tested our defenses and found them wanting. It had sacrificed 2 pawns to learn our strategy, to gauge my response. I am the last warden on duty tonight. The rules have been bent, broken, and used against me. And I am left with the horrifying knowledge that the things we guard aren't just waiting in their cells anymore. They're watching, they're learning. And the silence from the depository is no longer the silence of a prison. It's the silence of an army gathering in the dark, an army that now knows how we think. And it knows we are afraid.